Have you ever stayed with somebody who cheated? If so, are you still together? Or how did it finally end? Story 1. I found out she was cheating on me. I asked if she would stop. She said yes. We continued to date for a year. Then I found out she was cheating on me again with a few guys, so we broke up. She now stalks me 3 years after the final breakup and is supposedly depressed that I left her. Her family and friends think I abused her when really I was being her emotional punching bag. Answer: this exact same thing happened to me. The Family and Friends Part 100. I'm a DJ and I ended up working a wedding, and surprisingly enough, some of her family was there. I knew she said stuff about me to them and her friends, but I didn't know the full extent. Turns out she told her family I'm a heroin addict with a baby alternative tastes, and I abused the hell out of her. Story 2. We went on a break, got back together, moved in with each other, and she proceeded to fudge guys on my bed while I was at work for about a year. The truth came out when she broke up with me because it wasn't working out. She now has a child with one of the guys she cheated on me with. They both have trackers on each other's phones because they can't trust each other. I find it amusing and know that the baby daddy constantly cheats on her. Karma's a meanie. Story 3. I did, but it completely changed my attitude toward them. Anything and everything they did annoyed me. No patience. I wasn't intimacy attracted anymore. The act just felt like a chore. And no matter how hard I tried, I never fully regained trust. It really ended after I found more evidence of cheating for the 3rd time and decided to leave. Soon his feelings towards me grew to disgust while we were still together. He ended it as I didn't have the spine to break it off myself. And that disgust grew into hatred even after we parted so many years ago. Absolutely no contact. Didn't help that I had a former friend that added fuel to the fire and egged him on disliking me further. Edit: I won't defend my actions at BTW as I was in the total wrong. Been paying for a life of karma for a lot of shoot I did. Story 4. I did. He never confessed to it and still won't to this day. We were together for 2 years and he was the first guy I slept with. And because of that reason alone, I thought it was worth fighting for. He was abusive and getting out was the best thing that ever happened to me. 5 years later and he still obsessively texts me. Story 5. I did, until I found out the number was much higher than I was initially told. So I got the hell out of there. Fast forward 4 years, she's now best friends with my feking wife. Edit update: the past 16 hours have managed to reopen some wounds I until recently thought to be closed. Thank you to some, fudge you to others. Excuse me while I figure out how to deal with this. Answer: my boyfriend's ex-wife cheated on him and lied about it. I would never dream of being her friend, much less best friend, WTF. It's all in the past and forgiven on my BF's part, but I've heard about all her hijinks over the past 2 years we've been together, and I'm still angry for him and think poorly of her. Despite his insistence, she's a good person otherwise. Your wife is messed up. Story 6. I finally confirmed my ex had been cheating on me after months of him gaslighting me and wrecking my self-esteem. He begged me to forgive him and started going all out to please me. Expensive dinners, gifts, trips. I stayed, but I knew deep down I didn't want to end up with someone like him. I felt ashamed for staying with him and being too weak to walk away. After a few months, I caught him in another lie and I was so numb that I could barely react. I told him I didn't care because I didn't love him anymore. He moved out a week later. I had become very codependent, so being alone was rough. After a few months of destructive behavior, I decided I needed to change my situation and move to a city 2,500 miles away. It was scary, but I have honestly never been happier. I feel like myself again, and now I know to trust my gut when I see red flags in people. I can't see myself ever putting up with mistreatment like that again. Answer: I'm super happy for you. For me, I think maybe I was beaten down for so long that I have conveniently missed red flags. Literally, the last 3 relationships have been situations where I wake up and realize that I'm in a really bad spot and a lot of things that are happening aren't cool or healthy for me. Feel I'm kind of getting there, but I'm happy to hear someone has made it out. Story 7. He was one of those nice guys who acted all sweet and nice to the outside world, and he had a very angelic-looking face to match. He looked like the less attractive Hemsworth brother. We were together for some years, but by the end of it, our relationship was a mess. I had several friends tell me that they witnessed him on dates. Sometimes he wouldn't come home at night. He was extremely secretive about his phone, etc. But because he would always angrily deny cheating and insist that I was paranoid, I never quite accepted that he had cheated. Very early one weekend morning, I was awoken by a text from a girl that he worked with, which was something along the lines of, "I'm at workplace. Why don't you come over and the two of us can clean up the office alone together?" It wasn't exactly conclusive evidence, but I was furious. Now, this coworker had always been sickeningly sweet to my face, but she had made it clear for a long time that she was actively pursuing my boyfriend. Things like asking him to help her with Tinder and going into graphic detail about her love life. She once offered to go to a yoga class with me and later bailed by claiming to be busy. Then while I was at yoga class, she asked my boyfriend to go out for drinks with her. I'd had enough of her at that point, so I was rude to her the next time I saw her. The boyfriend turned on me and told me that I was totally out of line. The boyfriend broke up with me a short while later to pursue someone else, which didn't work out. Given that he got his mates to stalk me through social media, I suspect he thought that I would end up sad and lonely, and was pissed to learn that I met someone great, my husband, not long after the split. When the boyfriend and I split, I felt relieved because putting up with his cheating had made me feel so alone for years. I learned that once the trust is gone, you're only making it worse for yourself by staying in the relationship. To anyone who is with a cheating partner, you know the burden of not trusting them. You know what it's like to want to check their phone and dislike yourself at the same time for wanting to do it. There's only one way to free yourself of that burden. You can't make the other person be trustworthy, but you can break up with them and make a better life for yourself. I can't even imagine wanting to check my husband's phone or having to keep tabs on his whereabouts. I trust him 100, and that's the most amazing feeling. Story 8. I was with a person for 2 years. Unfortunately, we were in a long-distance relationship for most of it, as I moved to another country after 10 months of being together. When I moved, we were in a very weird situations of splitting up and be together again, which continued until the end, which she was making out with different guys when we broke up. Through this whole times, I was in the worst psychological condition of my life, so far as I had lost everything and had no one except my parents to help me, and she wasn't making things better. At the end, she called me and told me that now she is in a relationship with my best friend. This was the worst feeling that I've ever felt. I felt betrayed from the two persons that I loved the most after my parents. Now, 1 year later, I have completely cut any kind of contact with those two, and I've ignored every single message that they sent me. I can say that it still hurts, but I feel better that I've completely removed two toxic people from my life. Sorry for any grammar mistake. English is clearly not my first language. Feel free to ask questions. Story 9. My husband had an emotional affair while I was pregnant with our first. I discovered it right before giving birth, after I had left my company to become a stay-at-home mother. I told him that I wanted a year to decide to stay married or not. I knew I wasn't in the best emotional physical state to decide, and I also knew he'd say anything in the moment to convince me to stay. So we spent 1 year together learning how to adjust to parenthood while simultaneously reevaluating our lives and relationship. We went to marriage counseling. He went to individual counseling. We relearned how to actually communicate honestly, how to say things that would hurt, but at least were real. We realized that we loved each other dearly, but we weren't in love with our relationship marriage. So we changed it. We rolled up our sleeves and reinvented our world. It's been about 9 years since deciding to stay after that year of introspection. We've not dealt with infidelity since and are genuinely happy in our marriage. I'm glad I gave us the time and opportunity to fix things. I'm glad he's held up to his promise to make things right. And we're that odd couple who are actually in a healthier marriage after an affair. But holy shoot, it took a lot of work to get to this place. Answer: this may sound silly to ask, but what on earth is an emotional affair? Like, I think I get the premise, but it's a confusing premise to me because every bond is different. For example, one of best friends in the whole world is a girl. I'm obviously a straight male. We're pretty tight, emotional, and even affectionate in a platonic way. Think hugs, lap sitting, etc. If I was in a committed relationship, would it be considered an emotional affair? If things stay status quo, would it only be considered emotionally cheating? The friendship grew to that level after the committed relationship. If it not, at what point does it become one? And if that not an applicable example, I guess, back to my original question on what on earth is an emotional affair. Story 10. I can wholeheartedly say that I did not, for 1 minute of our relationship, consider or want to cheat. I would have married him, but he couldn't be with a cheat and a liar. Sucked then, and it seems to suck more and more every year that goes by. Story 11. She cheated on me junior year of college. I broke up with her. 2 years later, we still had the same friend group. Both of us got tipsy at a party and hooked up again. We made it another year before she cheated again, and I ended it for good. Soon after I moved, so I never had to see her again. Morals of the story: if they cheated to get with you, they'll cheat on you. If they cheated before without consequence, they'll learn they can cheat again, no matter how good a match or how much either loves the other. Story 12. I dated a guy who cheated on me and I ended it immediately, but tried to date him again about 4 years later. He was convinced I would cheat on him for revenge and was so jealous all the time. It only lasted a few months before I ended it again, and I completely cut him out of my life. He broke my heart twice, but never again. Story 13. We together about 4 years at the time. Lived together, I worked an extra 20 hours a week so we could afford for her to finish her practicum. Wired things started to happen. First was the odd autocorrect in Google search to a dating site. Said it was her sister. Believed her. Then randomly hours of internet history would completely disappear every time I wasn't there. Even if I went to the grocery store, decided to take a really big risky step and install a keylogger. Had it on for not even a day and found out she was making plans on a dating site, messaging her coworker about how she cheated on me before and would love to with him. I actually didn't say anything to her. I kept quiet because I loved her and wanted to try to be better for her. Felt I would never meet anyone as good as her, and I loved her more than life itself. I kept quiet for a few months till it ate me up inside, and I was a shell of who I was. I kept looking at the keylogger and found she was basically sleeping with 3 different people. Instead of being mature, I started to flirt with someone online. I cheated. I became the worst version of me. She found out. I told her a tenth of what I knew, and I became the bad guy. We ended up hanging out all the time within 3 months, arguing and angry, then not talk for a few weeks. Every argument, I would spill a bot core about what I knew. Did that for about 3 more years. Then one day I got tired of all the games and drama, sat her down, told her I was madly in love with her, forever and always, and I'm tired of us going back and forth. Told her, let's make a choice. She said okay, that she loved me also. We went for dinner, had intimacy, and the next day went to work happier than I had been in years. She then texted me at noon saying she was leaving the city to move in with a married man who had her as a side piece. He was going to get a divorce and be with her. She said she just wanted a hookup, so went along with everything. Blocked me, and the one time I saw her in person back in the city, she pretended I didn't exist. Story 14. Yes, he actually cheated on with my cousin at my brother's wedding, but said it was my fault because I got too tipsy. I was young. Needless to say, it didn't work out. I found someone who treats me awesome. My ex publicly makes fun of his current girlfriend on Facebook for getting fat. I think it worked out for the best. Edited, fixed words. Story 15. I dated a narcissist and master manipulator. Originally, I was not interested in an exclusive relationship with him. We were both in college, and he had more years to go than I did. He cried, I caved, and our relationship began. Red flag. 8 months into the relationship, I was blindsided by accidentally finding out he was cheating. She called 1 a.m. on a Saturday night and was not a name I had not recognized. I woke him up after the initial shakes from shock subsided. He sobbed and cried hysterically, begging me not to leave. I took off as soon as he fell back asleep, and the hysterical bastard tracked me down the next morning. Insisted on not leaving me alone until we were back together. Fast forward to our 1-year anniversary of just dating, something I don't really celebrate, but he does. Insisted we buy each other rings. I was a full-time grad student, only employed part-time at a low wage, in debt and about to begin an 8-month mandatory unpaid full-time internship. Is the son of a multi-millionaire, didn't work, undergrad student in a frilly arts degree, and had everything paid for, including getting extra money from mommy from her personal allowance whenever there was something more he wanted. He insisted I had to buy him a ring with what little money I had. Fast forward a month after those 1-year commitment rings, he started cheating again, except this time it was multiple females. At one point during the dragged-out breakup, he wanted an open relationship, except only open on his side. It ended permanently. TL Dar. Manipulative, narcissistic, rich kid who would cry to get his way cheated, then cheated again, a lot more, ending in a permanent breakup. Story 16. No, there's no way I'd stay with my girlfriend if she cheated on me. Last girl I dated cheated on me. We had only been dating for about 6 months, and it felt absolutely terrible for a long time. I couldn't stay with somebody willing to do that to me. Story 17. I stayed after being together 4 years. She cheated on me when we were engaged, but I tried to make it work. We lasted 4 more years, and she cheated again. LPT. Don't stick with someone that cheats. It takes a certain kind of personality to do that to someone, and they'll never change. Story 18. Indeed, I have, by 2 different people. I was heartbroken both times, and both of them cheated on me on more than one occasion. I thought it was me, and I tried desperately to make each of them stay. Heartbroken. Why fly when they left me? Fool I was, I know. Story 19. I'm going to use this as a chance to offer the flip side. I was the one who cheated, and it was by far the worst thing I've ever done. I was in a relationship with a woman who we will call Allie. I had to move away for work about 6 months into the relationship and knew I would be moving again within a few years. Plus, I wasn't able to move her with me. So we decided to try a long-distance relationship. This worked fairly well, except I only got to see her every few months. And even though we made the effort to talk every night, it was hard to have anything new to talk about. So mostly we argued, but then we would get to see each other, and it was like a honeymoon. Romance, passion, and love. So we persevered and managed to make it work. Then I moved again, and we started making plans to move her out to live with me and start making a life together. However, it would be 6 months before she was ready. She had to finish her year at university, pack her stuff, and I had to organize a place for us. At this time, I ran into a receptionist at work. We clicked instantly, both physically and emotionally. However, I behaved myself and kept everything platonic. One night, she invited me out for drinks with friends. This turned into a huge night out, clubbing, drinking, and dancing. Somehow, we ended up separated from her friends, and we got to talking about our mutual attraction. The tension got too much with the adult beverage and the teasing, and I kissed her. It was my first physical contact with someone in about 3 months, and although I knew it was wrong, it felt amazing in the moment. We started having an affair for about a month leading up until Christmas. Now, the part I really wanted to tell. I decided that I'd made a mistake and that it wasn't worth mentioning to Allie, but I knew, and I think she suspected. I felt so guilty, and I'm sure she could see through my lies. And there were a lot of lawsuits. You lie about what you did, who you were with, why you didn't call, message. I managed to maintain the relationship another 1.5 years, but I couldn't forgive myself. The torment was worse than being cheated on to me, and I know that feeling firsthand, because at least then I could be angry at someone else. Instead, all I felt was disgust for myself. As I said, the relationship didn't work out. Eventually, we both stopped caring for each other and broke up semi-amicably. But that's the point when I could stop and really take stock of my emotions and what I had done. I realized that cheating was definitely not worthwhile. I took some time for myself and worked out what I had done wrong. Aside from the physical intimacy, I lied, I broke my own rules, and I tried to make excuses for myself. So I made a new mantra. I would be totally honest from then onwards. No little white lies, no excuses. Since then, I have started a new relationship with an amazing woman. She knows my whole past, including cheating. I even broke the taboos about talking about exes. She understands why, and she trusts me because she can see I don't want to be the disgusting person I was. We have an entirely open line of communication, and we are free to be 100 ourselves around each other. Honestly, I have never felt safer with someone. I have never felt closer. I know what I did was wrong, and a part of me will never forgive myself. But I accept that, and the memory of the guilt and pain I caused is enough to encourage me to continue being honest, even when a small, harmless lie can be so tempting. TL, dear, I was the cheater, and it destroyed a relationship. I learned my lesson and won't ever be that person again. Story 20. We both cheated in a long-distance relationship. We're shoot people for doing it, but it happened nonetheless. We stayed together for a while after. Our intimacy got more and more passionate until we broke up due to things relating to the cheating. After we broke up, however, we had the most frenzied intimacy I've ever had. We always had a lot of intimacy tension. Story 21. Yes, my now husband cheated on me when we were only dating. At first, we broke up, but then ultimately we worked through it and a few years later got married. Still going strong. It took a long time to get to a point where I could trust him again, but I trust him more than anyone else in the world now. Story 22. I politely approached the subject and said, "Hey, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable with this behavior. Do you mind cooling it off with her?" To which he agreed. I forget the specifics, but over time it just got worse. He got possessive of his phone. I couldn't even touch it to move it if I wanted to put a glass of water there. He would turn the phone away from me and was always on it. She would upload photos of him on social media or comment on all his stuff. She came to his birthday party wearing a bodysuit and jeans, which was completely backless and low cut in front. She has fake tits. After that party is when things happened. He'd constantly text her when we were together. He knew all the intricate details of her miserable marriage. She also has 2 kids and would frequently discuss them and her. They would spend their time together at work all day. I know a lot is still hidden from me, but things that occurred during this 2-year emotional affair in which he fell in love with her, lied to me, and subsequently started dating her a year after we ended things. His sister told me when she would visit him at work, his car would have a car seat in it. Confronted later, he told me he would take her kids for food ice cream. I never knew. His sister also told me one night she drove 30 minutes to come to his parents' house where he lived to make food. His dad kicked her out once someone realized she was there because it wasn't right. They were touchy-feeling together always. The one time I saw his phone, she was the background photo. She put it on my screen, he said, but I was never allowed within inches of his phone for my dear life. He uploaded a birthday photo for her saying, "Happy birthday to my best friend." He never uploaded any photos of us, citing social media was stupid. I had a breakdown at work and called him about he informed me he was on his way to her birthday party that he purposely did not inform me of or invite me to by her wishes. He liked all of her Instagram photos except ones with her husband in them. There's tons more, but basically I held on and tried to embrace her if they truly were just best friends. I hung out with her, and he would get insanely jealous mad. Finally, he cited he didn't know himself and needed time to figure himself out. The worst time of my life, and 3 years later, here I am still trying to deal with losing him. Story 23. Stayed for 15 years. Suspicious for all of them because he never acted normal again. Finally couldn't take the creepy, underlying, unanswered questions and left. Best decision I've ever made. If you have any questions about anything and do not get solid answers, run. I assure you, it's not you, it's him, her. Story 24. My first GF left her BF for me. I felt it was okay because he cheated on her 7 times and she never had the heart to break up with him. I also supported her in a hard time while he didn't. She left me a year and a half later for someone else and had the audacity to tell me that she and her were having intimacy. She was also very religious. Story 25. Just found out 2 weeks ago that my boyfriend of 5.5 years has been sleeping with other girls behind my back. He was also receiving and sending them naked pictures regularly. We had been living together for 2 years at this point. Buckle in, folks. I started travel nursing back in November, and things between us seemed to be going just fine. We had multiple talks about what this meant and that it was only for a limited time. We agreed. Fast forward to January, and he starts getting really weird about his phone, constantly needs to know where it is, and won't let me really touch it. I knew something was up and started investigating. He had been texting one of his friend's exes, and it definitely made me uncomfortable. I confronted him, and he apologized and said he wouldn't do it anymore. He continues to stay weird about his phone. I have a bunch of days in a row of work coming up, so we wouldn't see each other for about 2 weeks. Literally right as I'm about to leave, I see a girl's name pop up on his phone, and I totally shut down. I grab the dog and run out of the apartment back to where my current assignment was. He texts me and acts like nothing just happened. At this point, I know I have no choice but to search his texts. Couple weeks later, I drive to him hometown because that's where he went for the weekend. Friday night and totally catch him texting and Snapchatting this same girl. I shut down again and completely ignore him for the rest of the night. The next day, I start watching Netflix in his laptop, where sure enough, I notice his iMessage is linked to his laptop. He's never made this mistake before. I start digging. Took more than 5 minutes to find an upsetting amount of naked pictures from both random girls and himself. I immediately confront him, and he says nothing to me. Not a darn word. I start packing all my shoot to drive back home, and he follows me downstairs, continuing not to talk. I'm devastated. 5 years, and I don't get so much as an explanation. I'm getting ready to pull out when his mom stops me. She convinced me to stay and try to work it out. I decide to continue to dig to make sure I know the full truth. Find out he's been sleeping with other people. He admits it and doesn't say anything else to me. I moved out last weekend and haven't heard a word from him. It's like I didn't even know the person I was living with. Every day is a struggle, and I'm doing everything in my power to try to be okay again. Story 26. Eventually, he was no longer the man I thought I loved and trusted. It stopped being fun. We stopped being friends. Went home every night thinking today's the night I tell him I'm done. Didn't hurt that he kept accusing me of cheating, probably trying to deflect his guilt and hoping I would get back at him. After dragging it out for a year, maybe more, I was done. Messy breakup, ended up moving, basically paying him off and changing my number. Honestly, though, we would have grown apart in the end. Wanted different things, had different goals, got comfortable, were young, yada, yada, yada. Not meant to be. Story 27. I got married just more than 16 years ago. I learned about the infidelity about a month before our 10th anniversary. I was eerily calm. We talked about him needing to communicate. He said he would seek counseling. We spent months reconnecting, went on an anniversary trip to Hawaii 6 months later. That 2 weeks was the best part of our marriage so far. We returned home and he returned to old patterns, eventually cheating again 4 years after the initial discovery. I woke up from shock. I told him things needed to change, including behaviors besides intimacy. I set a time limit. Halfway through that time frame, he agreed to counseling with me. Counselors saw us for several months before saying that he couldn't help us heal our marriage unless both spouses heal individually. Turns out he's an intimacy addict, has been since before I met him. He started SA late last year. He has over 100 days clean. I got diagnosed with PTSD from marriage relationship, gaslighting, mental and emotional abuse. I moved out a week and a half ago. We are planning a therapeutic separation. I don't know how this will all end up. Edit, spelling. Story 28. Not only did my ex-partner cheat on me, but it was recorded, audio, and sent to my voicemail as revenge. For what? No idea. I never even looked at anyone else. Over 10 minutes of them fudged someone else on my phone. I still stayed for 3 more months because by that point, I was pretty much dead inside. Abusive relationships suck, and it was my first ever relationship. So I kept convincing myself and others that everything was fine, even though I barely ate or slept and didn't care if I died. 10 years later, I'm pleased to report that I'm in a much better place. It gets better. Story 29. I caught my girl of 3 years cheating with a nice guy from down the road. When I found out about it, I threw a fit and was hurt and betrayed. I broke up with her, but a couple of days later, she begged for my forgiveness and wanted to try again. I told her that I could never look at her the same way and that it would take a long time to get my trust back. She really did try, but I just couldn't look at her the same after that. Plus, I started screwing the same guy she cheated with. It was a bromance thing. We would go on hunting and fishing trips and have a ball. One night, I caught her texting another guy about a hookup. I really didn't care who she was with at that point, but I did feel like being a jerk. So I told her that I screwed everyone who screwed her. She made some phone calls, and she left so fast it was sweet. We literally never said another word to each other again. One of my friends said, "Some people are gay for pay. You're gay for payback." Story 30. Everything he did annoyed or aggravated me. I don't have a reason to why I stayed for so long other than thinking we could fix something that was irreversible. Everything changes when someone cheats. Trying to make it work is really about the person trying to forget what their SO did. It doesn't work. RIP out of all the relationships trying, it will never be the same and you'll always be seen as the lowest version of yourself to them. Story 31. My first love. We were young, had been dating a couple years. I went through a bad depression that he didn't know how to handle. He began resenting me for bringing him down before checking out completely. Cheated on me with our roommate for months, then ended up leaving me for her. NBSP. Fast forward a couple months and she's gone off the deep end. Crazy, jealous, and controlling. He comes crawling back and we get back together. NBSP. At first I had this weird sense that I had won, but in the end it wasn't the same. I felt incredibly annoyed and turned off by everything he did, and we just drifted further apart over the course of 2 years. Then finally I started finding evidence that he was trying to cheat on me. Yes, trying and failing. Girls were turning him down or straight up blocking him. That somehow was so much worse. NBSP. So we went our separate ways, but oddly enough remained good friends. I even ended up dating his best friend for a couple years, and we went on double dates. My life is fudge weird sometimes. Story 32. Was reading this thread for an hour before realizing I had an answer. My ex, Nina, cheated on me multiple times. I stayed with her because I loved her, but she got abusive and crazy, and eventually we broke up. The good news? I look back on that relationship now, and I'm so stupid for staying in a long-distance relationship with a cheater like her. I deserve so much better. She's unattractive, she doesn't take care of herself, and she used to threaten to hurt herself if I life her. Now someone else has to deal with that shoot. Her new guy is some ugly redneck named Jason from the middle of nowhere, PA, who's just going to cheat on her while she struggles to pay their bills and cheats on him. Meanwhile, I'm dating a beautiful, driven girl who I couldn't be happier with. It all worked out for me, although I'm still really bitter about Nina. Story 33. I was cheated on in my first serious relationship with a woman. She left me shortly after, so there isn't much to tell there. My parents have been together nearly 20 years but never married. Mom found out Dad had been cheating for a lot of it. I was 14 when we found out, and my sister was 13. Kicked Dad out with only his car and his gun. Honestly thought he was going to eliminate himself that night. It's been almost 4 years since then. He moved back in a month or two later. Mom found him talking to more girls and kicked him out for another 5-6 months. He moved back in again after that. My family life has been pretty shoot since then. Both my parents still love my sister and I and do their best to support us in everything we do. And I guess that's all we can ask for. Story 34. She cut me deep. Story 35. I tried to stay. It just really never got over it, and it affected the relationship. Should have just ended it when I found out. Now I know I would never stay with another cheater again. If you cannot respect me enough not to slip up, then I simply cannot respect you. Story 36. It's a bit of a long story, but I don't think I've ever had the space to really talk about it. So I stayed. And to be honest, I don't know why I did, but all I know is now I'm glad I did. We started dating over 2 years ago. We were both 21. Prior to us becoming official, I substanced her through the talking stage for about 6 months. I loved her, but feared being in a real relationship. Something told me she didn't really understand what it meant to be in a relationship and the sacrifice that comes with one. I believe I was right to a degree, so during those 6 months, I think 3 times it came up that she was done doing whatever it was that we were doing if I didn't take a step to make things official. Every time I convinced her to wait. Well, why she was waiting, she developed feelings for another guy. I'm not sure to what extent, but they were there. Finally, after 6 months, I decided to make it official, and within a few days of us being together, she got tipsy and made out with the other guy. I didn't find out until about 3-4 months later. It hurt, and I partially blame myself, although now I realize it's on her since she made the decision to be with me. Well, then it happened again once while I was out of town. I had never been as emotional in my life as I was at this point. But again, for some reason I stayed. I think I stayed because at the time I was afraid of the idea that she would be more okay with breaking up than I would be. I was also in a pretty low point in my life, and I wasn't really living for me or being selfish. I always say, had this all happened in 2017, I certainly would have broken things off. Ultimately, I will say the first 8-10 months of the relationship were pretty toxic. Although I've never voiced this idea to her. She thought we were moving on from the whole thing, but it ate at me a lot. The toughest part was trusting again, obviously. I still think about it, although it happened over 1.5 years ago. I read a quote somewhere that read, "Trust is like a piece of paper. Once you crumple it up, it'll never been a perfect piece of paper again." I think that holds some truth. I trust her a lot more now than what I did 1 year ago, but there are still times I get anxious. However, overall, our relationship is great now. There's still a lot that we both want to do in life before taking a more serious step, so I know it'll have time to regain all of the trust. But for now, we both appreciate what we have. Story 37. My boyfriend cheated on me March of last year. He had been talking to a girl who he claimed was just a childhood friend, and when I felt paranoid about what kind of relationship they had, he told me I was insecure and that I wasn't going to control who his friends were. Then one day he just started complimenting me like crazy. Things that in our 2 years I had never even heard before. I eventually mentioned how odd it was, and he told me I was ruining the moment and making him not want to ever do it again. Later that night, we got into an argument about intimacy. He wanted to try something I wasn't comfortable with yet, and rather than being understanding, he told me I was a prude and had the intimacy maturity of an old lady. I went to bed in tears, and he stayed up to drink. The next morning, I happened to wake up before him. I saw his phone on the table and was curious about what kind of conversations he was having with this girl who he had stopped mentioning after a while. They were talking about intimacy and how I was a prude. She offered him private pictures to which he said yes to, but if they were there, they were deleted. He said he wished he could be there with her. She lived out of state. I honestly didn't read too much more because I was just overcome with anger. I woke him up and confronted him. He immediately broke down. He denied that he was cheating, that the things they were saying were just a part of her personality. He denied even flirting with her, but agreeing to receive private pictures is definitely flirting to me. He blamed it on him losing his job a month before. This girl was married with children. I confronted her over Messenger to let her know I was telling her husband and to fudge off. The husband thanked me for the heads up, and I blocked her, and her husband, for whatever reason, blocked me. When you cheat, you're breaking a relationship. It changes the emotional and physical intimacy. The trust is never the same. He was the first person I've ever felt a connection with, the first person he'd ever loved, and the first to ever have my complete trust. He's someone I would have never thought would cheat on me. We're still together, and while he's moving forward, I still feel stuck. I worry about who he's messaging, who he works with, who he's looking at, the next girl that decides to flirt with him, and what it's going to mean. If a woman even so much as looks at him, I get upset. At this point, it's my problem, and it's partly why I'm looking at this thread, wondering too if people can salvage a relationship afterwards. Answer: I think you should leave, fam. No one deserves that. I know people very close to me who have stayed, and in the end, you just hurt yourself. Go out and love yourself. You do not need him to feel complete. I know it's easier said than done, but do it for yourself, please. There's never a right time to break up. It's always tough, but nothing will truly change for you until you do. Story 38. Yep, she cheated a little over a year into our relationship. It absolutely devastated me since she was my first love. But using the old "it was a moment of weakness" line convinced me to stay. Fast forward about a year and she cheated again. This time she basically implied she was going to eliminate herself if I left her. I felt like my hands were tied. I straight up told her if we did get back together again, it would pretty much be impossible for me to trust her and that I would just end up resenting her. She started making all these promises, and sure enough, I stayed. But of course, I was right. She never admitted to cheating again, but she was still pulling some shady shoot. Needing to go pick up a guy coworker of hers who had gotten tipsy and couldn't drive. And she mysteriously didn't come back home until like 5 a.m., drunkenly giving her number to some guy at a bar. You get the idea. My jealousy was getting out of hand and I wasn't happy, but I couldn't bring myself to break up with her. I didn't feel that connection anymore, and I started to distance myself. She eventually broke up with me because she had been hanging out with one of her coworkers who was actually nice to her and that our relationship had gone stale. Gee, you don't say? Anyway, we stayed in touch for a while until a buddy of mine convinced me to delete her number and to delete her off social media. I know I should have done that years ago, but I was dumb and in love. She's out of my life now, and I'm much happier because of it. Story 39. My girl caught me sending male body part pics. I still feel like shoot over it. No idea why she stayed. There were trust issues for a while, but we're moving past it, I hope. I'm doing everything I can to be more trustworthy, including lose all of my privacy. Whatever. I deserve it. Anything to make her happy. She's what's important. Story 40. I had a GF that cheated on me, decided to keep trying anyway. A couple of days later, the guy that she cheated with started reaching out to me, saying how he would stab me if he ever saw me IRL. GF broke up with me and went to live with him until he overdosed on substances and died. I can't say I'm very sad about how that turned out. Story 41. We married a few years later. On our third year of marriage, we were poor but happy. One of her coworkers kept coming over after she got off work to hang out. After I found out what they were really doing, I was very disappointed, but I thought maybe it was my fault. We went to marriage counseling and everything seemed fine. She cheated one more time in the next few years, but after she beat me a few times and kicked me down the stairs, I thought that maybe she was finally opening up to me. The new marriage counselor said we had communication problems, but was hopeful it would work out. I was so happy on our 10-year anniversary. I was doing well, and she just got a great job, her first. I spent years saving and finally got her the ring she deserved. It cost me $10K, but it was well worth it. She hadn't hit me in years, and I thought we finally were in a good spot. Sure, we were having some strange problems in bed. We hadn't made love in a year. The counselor told me to spend a lot of time with my wife. The counselor said it would help me find happiness. In a way, it did. I found out she had been cheating for the last year with her new boss. After years of abuse and multiple betrayals, I had finally the courage to tell her I wanted her to change. I still didn't really understand. She left me for her boss. Now, 8 years later, I am happier than I could have dreamed. My now ex-wife is a distant memory, and I couldn't be happier. For guy reading this, no matter how big you are, your wife, girlfriend, partner never has a right to abuse you. It will be incredibly challenging to get help. Hardly anyone will understand, but get help. Find a way out. Good luck and God bless. Story 42. My boyfriend admitted to cheating on me through social media after one of the girls found out about me and messaged me to tell me. It's been 3 months, and it has been the hardest thing to do. I'm unsure if I'll ever be able to trust him again, and every day I think of what he'd done to me and how much he's broken me. The hardest thing was that I adored him before. I would do absolutely anything for him, and I couldn't imagine my life being with anyone else, which is why I gave him a second chance. But it has been extremely difficult and exhausting mentally. Some days I know I've made the right decision in giving him a second chance, but other days I know I should put myself first, as the whole experience has pushed me into a spiral of depression and stripped me of my self-confidence. Story 43. I did. We were in high school, broke up for a month when he cheated and got back together. It was like dating someone else, because when we broke up, he realized how important I was to him. We are still dating. It was also a maturity thing. Now we are adults in a respectful relationship, 4 years strong. I think it really helped that it felt like I was dating a new person. Story 44. So I live with 3 other people: the girl, the boyfriend, and the ex-BF. Girl goes out with boy 1, sees it's not working out, goes out with boy 2 before she says anything to boy 1. Girl finally tells boy 1 that she's going out with boy 2 and has been for a couple of weeks. They stay as friends, and boy 1 and 2 are also friends. Now it's 2018 and all 3 live together. Wait, why did I drag myself into this situation? Story 45. I freaked out a bit. I pulled his credit report, scoured for info on this bank account, and nothing came up, which is weird. I asked him about it when he got home, and he says it's an old account from college ages ago. We're going to go to the bank tomorrow to see what's up because I'm suspicious and I want to check it out. He says fine. Honestly, if I think about it too much, I'd want to leave him because I could never trust him again. But it's too scary. Our lives are so entwined, and he makes 5x my salary. I'd never be able to afford the lifestyle we currently have, and besides that, I think I'd be really lonely. I'd been with him for my entire adult life. I literally have no idea what it'd be like if I were by myself. We separated for 6 months a couple years ago when things were really bad and he was running around town with a 19-year-old stripper. That was a fudge mess. Emotionally, mentally, financially, a lot of things happened, including him being robbed at gunpoint and fudge shot, and he woke up. We reconciled and went to intensive couples therapy. He fessed to everything. He cried, I cried. He really tried to repair our relationship, and we've made huge strides, but it won't ever be the same. I really fudge loved him, and he ruined it. I mean, I kind of get it. He grew up in a shoot household. His dad is a psycho. He's insecure and easily stressed. He has an addictive personality, is prone to depression, and was addicted to adult content for a while. He's a fudge head case, but he's also one of the funniest guys I know. Really charming and sweet. We met in undergrad. I never believed in true love until I met him, and I never knew absolute devastation until he cheated for the first time, and then again and again. It's the secrets and the lies that get to you. The fudge sad part of it all is that I always thought of myself as a strong woman. I have a PhD. My career is awesome, if not that lucrative. I'm smart, and I know I'm at least above average on the attractiveness scale. I don't take shoot from anyone except him. Maybe he'd cheat again. Probably. I'm kind of expecting it. I'm constantly building a plan B for myself when the other shoe falls. I tell myself the next time really is it, that I can't go through the pain again, but who knows? His mom is pressuring me to have a kid now that I graduated, and I do really want a kid. But if I know he's going to fudge up again, is it even fair for me to put a child through that? I mean, life is okay now. We laugh. He makes me pancakes on the weekends. We ride our bikes by the river on sunny days. He listens to me when I have a bad day. I cook him soup when he's sick, but it'll never be the same. Or maybe this is life. That's what everyone tells me, at least. Story 46. Tried to forgive my ex for the sake of the kids and make things work. But darn if it wasn't all lies. Had to have somebody working during the day and watching the kids at night for all this, I guess. It's been a couple years now, and aside from the same kids, I could care less anything about her. But I do still find it funny that even now she tried to trash my name and say I abused her all the time, emotionally and physically, in front of the kids even, and spanked them every chance I got. Beating her in court for custody may have been the best revenge ever, though on another note, LOL. Story 47. I was the side chick and never knew I was the side chick. We broke up for a while and now we're back together. It's weird because I want to trust him wholeheartedly, but past experience taught me I can't. He gave me full access to his phone and all passwords, so I feel good about that. I love him, and all we can do is move forward. I think both of us are incredibly fundamentally broken regardless, and we only make sense when we are together. Story 48. I did for a while. Then one day I was extremely upset. I told her I was, and that she probably shouldn't come over because I wasn't going to be fun company. She did anyway, and then broke up with me because she didn't feel like being with someone who had stopped trying. The next day she came back crying, wanting to get back together. She didn't say it, but it was very clear. I didn't get back together. Story 49. I stayed with my ex for 2 years after he cheated with his ex before we even started dating. I literally caught them in the act and still forgave him. It ended up making me resent him and grow really bitter towards him. I couldn't trust him no matter how hard I tried. It really sucked because I know I loved him more than anyone and he felt like the love of my life. But it started to destroy my very being. I still love him and probably always will. But I cannot do anything to change how he broke me in ways I didn't know someone could be broken. TLDR, don't stay with someone who cheats. It fudge sucks. Don't. Story 50. Yes, just after our son turned 1, he tried to leave me. I asked if there was someone else. He said there wasn't. I was devastated, did everything I could to change my lifestyle. He agreed to stay. Found out later he had been cheating on me with a woman from work and was trying to break off both relationships to be free. I still stayed. He said he wanted to work things out for our family. He has custody of his daughter, who is 10 now, but was 6 when we got together. Things got better. I felt closer to him again. Almost 4 weeks after I had to have a major emergency surgery, I found out he had been sleeping with her again. This was last week. He swears he's never going to do it again. loves me, etc. We're still together, but I'm destroyed. He was emotionally and physically cheating, telling her, I love you and everything. I'm still trying to figure it all out. We're supposed to be married in 4 months. If I leave, I lose my family I've been building for the last 4 years and miss seeing my son grow up 1 week at a time. If I stay, I run the risk of him cheating again, and I don't know if I can handle it. Story 51. Yes, I eventually left because she kept on cheating with randos. She was a straight-up whore. I have now adopted a strict zero tolerance for that shoot. I have been married for 12 years with a faithful and loving wife. We are as happy as life allows. Story 52. I stayed and married him. Don't ever do that. I found that he had called an adult worker off of Backpage. He said at first that it was his friend that called. Really? Then he said that he called, but she was busy and nothing ever happened. Said she told him he would have to call back. Because prostitutes just want to throw business away, right? I willed myself to believe him, even though everyone knew it was bullshit. He even showed me all of his credit card bank statements to show he didn't charge anything or withdraw any money. Anyway, pretty sure he banged. Ew. This was a year before he proposed. I married him. Then we separated less than 2 years after the huge wedding. I don't think I ever let it go because I felt that he wasn't honest with me. He was deceptive. I am 100 loyal in a relationship, and this just rocked me. I was stupid for marrying him. I should have dropped him immediately when this happened, but I loved him. Again, moral of the story, don't stay with a cheater. Story 53. I made sure the same waitress would be there. I wore the same clothes. After dinner, we went home, and I proposed with a custom magic deck. She said yes. Infidelities uncovered and likely more I didn't know haunts the next year. Each time finding truth was like pulling teeth. Reluctant, half confessions in the face of evidence. Then came the custody battle for my daughter. In court, with Gail into the outside world, we appeared as the perfect, loving couple. To be completely honest, I don't doubt her love as much as she was able, and mine never wavered, even in years since. In private, though, she continued to cheat on me repeatedly and lied about it, more half confessions, and later blaming me for her infidelity. Our wedding date was pushed back with each violation of trust. For a couple months, I even called it off. Still, we were engaged again because I could not see a future without her in my life. We had the dress, custom Vera Wang, a gift from her wealthy mother, the venue, park where we took engagement photos, the food, friends with food trucks. We spent nights talking about our wedding music. I secretly made playlists, so many songs so painful to hear now. Then I learned her infidelity never stopped, as worse than I thought, and that she loved him, this man she had been cheating with since the beginning. She told me to my face, as her fiancé, that she loved another, yet wanted to marry me. I was done. Every part of myself I gave her, every bit of respect I swallowed, deceiving myself by believing her promises to change. It had left me raw and broken. I distanced myself from her and her children. I gave her back the ring I wore. I found it only fair for both of us to wear engagement rings. Fudge the patriarchy. Everything that could be canceled was. Everything that could be returned was. I don't know what happened to the dress in the end. I asked her to move out and told her I wouldn't stay in our home when the lease was up. Her response was getting partied too hard and cheating on me more. To feel wanted, in her words. I wanted her as much as breath, but only one of those was keeping me alive while the other was eliminate me. Her best friend stayed with us for a couple weeks, trying to get us back together now and again. Two people who love each other so much shouldn't be apart. In pain, I replied, you don't break the heart of one you love, hide it, then blame the one you love for your choices. In hindsight, it wasn't fair to say she didn't love me. She just couldn't be faithful. Months passed and she had a stint of short relationships before getting together with someone she had been flirting with throughout the years of our relationship. She seemed happy. They both got into AA. They seemed a good match. Despite being broken by her, I still loved her, still love her today, and was happy to see her smiling again. We found things belonging to each other and exchanged them. She sold me back the magic decks I had built for her. We talked about the kids, all from past relationships. We saw each other Christmas Eve and exchanged presents and hugs. I cried feeling her in my arms once more. I drove down to Oregon with my daughter to spend Christmas with my mother. On the 27th, I received a phone call from my ex's son. He told me her boyfriend found her unresponsive in her bathtub. She was in hospital but had no signs of significant brain activity. My daughter and I came home, then said our goodbyes to her in hospital. Her mother ended life support a couple weeks later, after dozens of brain scans provided no hope. It was years ago now, yet I still love her. I tried to be in another relationship, but it failed. I hadn't grieved and I'm still not done grieving. Someday I'll be okay though, and my life will move on. Until then, the radio and old moving boxes are minefields finding joy and heartache in equal measure. Story 54. Nah, that's choosing to stay with someone that abuses you. I completely understand why people can feel trapped or why they might not be able to leave a partner that cheated on them. However, fortunately, I had the means and the willpower to leave them the minute I found out. I mean, let's be real here. I wouldn't stay with someone that punched me, so why would I stay with someone that did something similar emotionally? Finally, probability-wise, having cheated once is a great predictor of cheating again. So it wasn't hard to decide not to take a chance on someone that A, showed me they were willing to abuse me, and B, was more likely than not to do it again. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure some cheaters learn, recover, improve themselves, find spiritual enlightenment or whatever. But LOL, people struggle to fix much smaller vices than being an abusive and shoot partner, and I'm more than happy to let someone else take that chance if they enjoy gambling. Story 55. Not me, but my parents. My dad cheated on my stepmom 2 years after they were married, when my sister was 3. Apparently, this was not the first time that my dad had done this to my mom, but for some reason, she never did anything or even thought of leaving for the sake of her only daughter at the time. Most of his relationships were flings and didn't last long until my biological mom came in. Things got pretty serious to the point where they stopped hiding their relationship, and he even started bringing her to the house, letting her other children, I wasn't born yet, call him dad, etc. As you can already assume, I was conceived because of this relationship, and me being born caused a giant rift between my stepmom and my dad. She ended up leaving him to move to another country with my sister upon finding out that I was born. But for some reason, my biological mom and my dad's relationship didn't pull through because my dad left her to come back to my stepmom. He brought me with him, and she was reluctant to take him back at first, but saw that he was ready for a big change and decided to take the chance. It's been 18 years since this incident, and my parents are still together. Their 22nd anniversary actually just passed. To say that it has been easy for my stepmom to heal would be lying. I believe that she never really got over it until this year when everything is easing out. My presence is a constant reminder to her of what my dad did, and I often feel remorse for that. Despite it all, though, she was the one to raise me since my biological mom straight up left me in the hospital, and I've never been more grateful for her. My dad and my stepmom are still working on it, but I can see that their relationship is constantly improving and continuing to blossom. Story 56. Technically, I did. He cheated on me with another girl when we were dating, and then they got married less than a year later. He kept accidentally calling her by my name, which didn't sit well with their marriage. She turned out to be crazy, and they got divorced. He said he was meant to be with me all along, and I felt the same way. There were other coincidences I'll omit, but basically the universe wanted us to be together. So we got married. It has been in years, and we are perfect for each other. We just kind of ignore the fact that he was briefly married to another lady before me, and everybody thinks it's cute that we've been in love since I was 19. I'll be 34 this month. Story 57. 23. Yo been with GF 3 years. Was cheated on several times during relationship, forgave every time, but never forgot, got extremely paranoid 247, always checking her things, etc. GF is gamer, gets lots of attention. I find it hard, causes depression, take antidepressants. Eventually I come off them, causes me to gain weight, now fat and paranoid. Wanted future with Joff, regardless of what she has done. Eventually break, kick her out, and break up. Realize when she is gone, I don't need her, get in shape again. Lose 2 stone in a month, in and out of contact with her. Receive messages she wants to get back together. But during the breakup, she slept with someone else and still wants this third party in her life. I tell her to get rid of third party. She agrees. We start dating. Week later, find out she is still talking gaming with this third party. We argue she doesn't realize she is in the wrong. Takes relationship advice of online people instead of herself. And now I'm posting here. Story 58. My past 2 relationships have been with girls who have cheated on me. The first one I wanted and tried to give a second chance, but then one night we were arguing about it, and out of anger, she said that she liked it when she screwed the other guy. Instantly cut her off right there. The second knew how my first ended, but she'd always still make jokes about cheating on me because I never would. So when she did, I ended it. She kept me talking to her for a few more weeks with tragic end undertones.